Well, good afternoon again, one and all. Thank you for coming down to this media conference. This is the second of the two conferences that we had. The last one, of course, was yesterday, where we will announce the rest of the candidates that will be contesting in this general elections. Let me get right to it. Without further ado, I will introduce again as in alphabetical order, starting with scholar and gentleman who is seated on my my left, Dr. Ahn Jung Wan. Dr. Ahn graduated from the University of Singapore in 1979 with a medical degree. He did his postgraduate training in psychiatry at the University of Edinburgh from 1984 to 1986. Upon his return from Edinburgh, he served as a psychiatrist with the Singapore Armed Forces for 17 years, from 1986 to 2003, before retiring as a colonel in 2003 as head psychological care center at the Military Medicine Institute, SAF Medical Corps. Dr. Ahn is currently in private practice as a consultant psychiatrist at the Paragon Medical in Singapore. He was the president of the Singapore Psychiatric Association for 2 consecutive terms in 1997 and 1998, and the chairman of the chapter of Psychiatrists Academy of Medicine from 2001 to 2003. He is the founding and current chairman of the Action Group for Mental Illness, a non-profit organization and advocacy group championing for persons with mental illness, formed in October 2012. You have to be patient, it goes on just a little bit more. Yes. He is a member of the National Council on Problem Gambling, set up by the Ministry of Community Development, Youth and Sports since its formation in 2005. He is also a member of the Clinical Advisory Committee for Chronic Disease Management Program on Mental Illness under the Ministry of Health since 2009. He has been a special visitor for the Mental Capacity Act under the Ministry for Community of Development, Youth and Sports from February 2010, and a member to the Visitors Board under the Mental Health Care and Treatment Act 2008 under the Ministry of Health, and that was from August 2010. He was also awarded the Public Service Medal, the PBM, in 1995 for his contribution to community work, and the Public Administration Medal, a PPA, in 1996 for his service in the Singapore Armed Forces. He has always been interested in politics and in helping the community. He was an active grassroots leader, having previously served as chairman of the Management Committee of Punggol Community Club and secretary of the Kampong Kembangan Citizens Consultative Committee, or the CCC, as you all know it. He believes that getting involved in politics is a way of serving the community and the nation. As a psychiatrist, he will use his expertise to scrutinize policies in Parliament which have an impact on the stress level and well-being of Singaporeans, thus ensuring that we are not only a first world nation economically, but emotionally as well. I will move on to our next candidate, and again in alphabetical order, and that is Mohammad Isa. Mr. Mohammad Isa has held various positions within the civil service and statutory boards. He later set up his own business before he was headhunted by Bruneian and Australian companies within the oil and gas industry. He is currently business development manager for an Australian oil and gas company. Mr. Isa has been active in grassroots political activity for the past 30 years. He was in the youth wing of the Workers' Party during the years that saw Mr. J.B. Jeyaretnam's victory in Anson. For the past 30 years, he has also been actively involved in grassroots and charitable organizations. Mr. Isa is married with 3 children. The eldest is currently pursuing a doctorate in biomedical science in Canada. Another daughter is in her final semester of a nursing degree in Australia. And Mr. Isa's youngest son in the engineering faculty of the National University of Singapore. He, of course, I don't have to say, is a proud father, and we have come to know him and like him very much, and he has served faithfully in the party for the past, I forget how many years. Right? Mr. Isa is a member of the Central Executive Committee, as I've said, and he has been with the party for several years now. Let me introduce to you our next candidate, Mr. Sadat Ibrahim. Mr. Sada is a retired. He resigned as a teacher. He attained a certificate in education from the then Teachers Training College in 1972 and went on to complete various specialist training programs. He has taught in various primary and secondary schools. Mr. Sada served in several capacities in grassroots organizations, one of which was the Ayar Raja constituency under former PAP MP Dr. Tan Cheng Bock. He also actively participated in various civic organizations, and during his teaching days he was the secretary and later president of the Singapore Tamil Teachers Union. As a teacher, grassroots leader and unionist, he attended numerous international conferences and training courses. Mr. Sada joined the PAP in the early 80s because he believed in their stated aim to uplift the people. But when the party began to lose its moorings and began to show less of a commitment to ordinary people, he experienced a deep soul searching that has led him to active political activity in the opposition camp. I'll turn now to our fourth candidate, and that is Gerald Song. Mr. Song is the treasurer of the Singapore Democratic Party. He has been active in politics since 1999. Gerald is passionate about opposition work because he has seen how people are disadvantaged by 50 years of PAP rule. He is especially concerned about the huge gap between the rich and the poor in our society. His aim in this election is to be able to voice out his concern for the people. He believes the government has a responsibility to ensure that the poor are taken care of. He is proud to be associated with the SDP because of the spirit of service and sincerity he sees in its members and supporters. He is especially happy that the SDP candidates are pledging 50% of their MP allowance to help serve the community. Now, Gerald has a bachelor's degree in marketing management from the University of Northumbria in the United Kingdom. Presently, he is a marketing manager in a human resource company. Now, Gerald speaks a variety of languages, including English, Mandarin, Hokkien, Chinese, and Malay, which I am sure will come in very handy when we get up on the stage during our rallies. Gerald, I must add, has been a very competent tutor in the dialect of Hokkien. Let me turn now to our final candidate, and he is in the person of Mr. Tan Ji Se. Tan Ji Se is an investment advisor. He has worked in international banks and asset management institutions such as Deutsche Morgan Grenfell, Govert Asset Management, and the Standard Chartered Bank for more than 16 years, and has held positions as managing director and regional head of Asia Pacific operations. Now, prior to joining the financial sector, Mr. Tan was with the administrative service for 11 years, including 6 years in the Ministry of Trade and Industry and 5 years as the principal private secretary to then Deputy Prime Minister Mr. Goh Chok Tong. Mr. Tan is a fellow of the Chartered Institute for Securities and Investment and has an Islamic finance qualification, which was jointly awarded by the Chartered Institute and the ESA of Lebanon. He graduated from Oxford University, where he studied philosophy, politics, and economics on a Singapore Government Overseas Merit Scholarship. And Mr. Tan came to prominence recently when he wrote a detailed 46-page paper, I'm sure you are all familiar with, and it was published this February, right? Entitled Creating Jobs and Enterprise in a New Singapore Economy, Ideas for Change. And the paper has received the endorsement of Lord Butler, former head of the British Civil Service in the 1980s and 1990s. And Mr. Butler said, "It seems to me a thorough and well-argued piece of work, and as such, it deserves the attention of policymakers, not to speak of the voters in a couple of weeks' time. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you our final slate of candidates, which will make up the 11 that we will be fielding in this coming general elections. And as I mentioned yesterday, we will be standing in the 2 GRCs of Holland Bukit Timah and Sembawang, and the 2 SMCs of Yuhua and Bukit Panjang.